Small and medium-sized businesses will be hoping for some relief when Finance Minister, Enoch Godongwana, delivers the national budget on Wednesday. The main challenge facing SMEs is rolling blackouts, and businesses will be hoping to hear more about a bounce-back scheme to assist them. Now, the President recently announced the allocation of billions to support SMEs, but how much relief are they likely to receive come Wednesday? The President of the Johannesburg Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Shawn Theunissen, speaks to us now about their expectations from, of course, Minister Enoch Godongwana come budget speech. He joins me now for that conversation. Shawn, thank you so much for your time, and good morning to you. Let's talk about this, just in terms of, the expectations that you have from the Minister, obviously at the back end of what the President had to say during the State of the Nation address. What are immediate needs that SMEs are currently in need of right now, would you say?
Yes, good morning, and good morning to the listeners. I think that if we reflect on what the President said in his speech on SONA versus what we also expect from the budget speech, is very much a focus around support for SMEs to deal with the power crisis in the country. The President alluded to the fact that the bounce back scheme, which was actually within his budget speech last year, so the Finance Minister never outlaid how SMEs are able to engage with this bounce back scheme. So the bounce back scheme has made a revival, and it's coming back to support SMEs and to support them in terms of the power supply and acquiring solar power for their businesses. We want some more details around that in terms of how SMEs are able to tap into that. He also spoke about, he's going to most probably speak about some additional funding that's going through both CFA as well as the SA SME scheme. But once again, we need some details in terms of how businesses are able to engage, how are they able to go and apply for these funds, what's the criteria, and will they be able to really support their businesses during this tough time.
It seems the how do we get there? Details is what's missing from those strategies presented by the President. And I'm just thinking right now, Shawn, surely stage 6 indefinitely not helping the situation for SMEs at this time.
No, definitely not. I think that what we've seen with the businesses that we work with does not matter whether you have a generator in place or whether you have an inverter in place or whether you have nothing in place. It has an impact on your business. If you are not able to operate 8 to 12 hours in a day, it will definitely have a direct impact in terms of how your cash flow is being managed within your business, the amount of customers you're able to serve, the amount of widgets you are able to get out into the marketplace. So it's costing businesses a lot of money to keep their doors open at the moment due to the power crisis.
Yeah. What do you make of the move to allow, banks and development finance institutions to borrow directly from the scheme to facilitate the leasing of solar panels at this time?
I think it creates additional channels for that money to get dispersed. But what we've learned from the past, once again, is that your banking institutions are quite stringent in terms of their lending criteria. And small businesses, we've seen this during all the COVID funds that was set up, don't necessarily always meet that criteria. So with the development banking institutions also coming to the party, hopefully we see some of that criteria being a bit more lenient in terms of access to that funding. The cost of compliance for small businesses is quite high. And for them to be able to ensure that they meet all the rigorous criteria that's set out from a banking perspective makes their operational costs or their compliance costs quite high. So hopefully there will be a little bit more leniencies specifically for small businesses in this space.
Yeah, and I just wonder, Shawn, how's been the red tape reduction working for the benefit of SMEs? We know the President's, since last year, SONA announced that businessman Sipongosi will be dealing with red tape. This was to allow SMEs to have a more friendly environment. Has this been the case? Because I can imagine that you, as SMEs, would not want the same regulatory requirements as larger companies. But has this red tape reduction proposal been quite helpful?
I think that, my message really to the President is that he's saying the right things. He said the right things last year. But what we're seeing in the marketplace is not that playing out. So, for instance, with the Red Tape Reduction Commission led up by Sipongosi, there's been nothing out in the marketplace. SMEs does not know what has been done in order to reduce the red tape. There has been some inklings in the revisions of the Business Act. Hopefully those, but we need some more detail.
So you're saying that you haven't really seen much reflected in terms of the work that he has promised that they would be doing, I suppose, working alongside him to ensure that, you know, yourselves, SMEs, do not endure that red tape.
Correct.
I want to move on to this as well, because you noted it even in your press statement, women empowerment, which I think is absolutely important to highlight. Shawn, at least 40% of public procurement to women-owned businesses, government having sought to establish an enabling environment for women in business. Is this the case in your line of work, in your reflections? Are we seeing more and more women being afforded those opportunities in business?
I think we're moving towards the right legislation, once again, putting some targets in place, but the practice for women-owned businesses in the marketplace is that they still do not have access to opportunities. With the public procurement bill also focusing on 40% of those opportunities going towards women, we're not seeing those numbers coming through. And I think it's a challenge for women-owned businesses, not just in the public sector, but also in the private sector. So we do need additional support around supporting women-owned businesses, both from a funding perspective as well as from an markets perspective.
All right, we'll leave it there. Shawn Theunissen, thank you so much for your time in joining us this morning, right in the South African morning. I suppose this, as we anticipate and expect to hear more from the Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana ahead of the budget speech this coming Wednesday. So much expectation from him and the SME sector just adding their voice, saying, amongst other things, they need more clarity in terms of funding, women empowerment, green energy opportunities, as well as that red tape reduction proposal by the President during his last year State of the Nation address speech. So all our thanks to Shawn Theunissen for joining us.